Have you ever wondered what it's like to give birth in a foreign country? Or how different the experience can be from your first to your second child? In this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast, we sit down with Maureen, a French actress, writer, and producer living in Brooklyn, New York. Maureen shares her unique perspective on pregnancy, birth, and postpartum as an expat navigating the challenges and joys of motherhood. From working as a server up until her last day of pregnancy, to documenting her journey through a series of humorous videos, Maureen's story is both relatable and inspiring. Join us as we dive into the world of international motherhood and learn how one woman's determination and creativity helped her through the ups and downs of bringing new life into the world. The Golden Hour Birth Podcast, a podcast about real birth stories and creating connections through our shared experiences. Childbirth isn't just about the child. It's about the person who gave birth, their lives, their wisdom, and their empowerment. We're Liz
and Natalie,
the Golden Hour Birth Podcast, and we're here to laugh with you,
cry with you,
and hold space for you. Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. I am your co-host, Liz.
And I'm your co-host, Natalie. And tonight we have Maureen from France on. She currently lives in Brooklyn, New York. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So if you want to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and your family.
Yes. So I'm French, but I've been living in New York for almost 10 years now. So I have two kids, 5 years old and 16 months, two boys. And yeah, I'm an actress, writer, producer in New York City. Yeah.
I love it. So what was your pregnancy and birth like for your first kiddo?
So it was intense. So I was 30 years old for my first one. And at that time I was working full-time. I mean, full-time. Yeah, I was acting, but I was also working as a server in East Village. And it was pretty intense. I think I could have not done that with the second pregnancy. But so I was serving tables and until kind of the last day. So my first one came 3 weeks earlier. And so when I stopped working, I thought, okay, this is my last Saturday. I'm going to, go for it. And I'm going to be done after that. I have 3 weeks to just rest and prep. And I didn't have those 3 weeks because the day after, I went into labor. So thanks.
Okay. Being on your feet all day, serving tables, that must have been tough.
It was hard, especially because I was hungry all the time. And so I was just eating a little bit of food, like pretty much all the time. And it was actually a raclette restaurant where, we scrape melted cheese on top of potatoes and everything. So I think it didn't help me. Like I gained so much weight.
It's cheese and potatoes. That's life's best.
I mean, yeah, and it's melted cheese, so you can definitely eat it as pregnant. So yeah, it was intense, I will say, but I was, I had energy at that time more than now.
Yeah. So why did you and your husband decide to move to New York?
I mean, we moved. So my husband is an architect, and he had some family over there already, and so he had a green card already when we met, and he was finishing his PhD in the US in New York, and at the end of like his internship, he just told me like, "Hey, I might have a job here. What do you think?" I'm like, "I'm an actress, I'm a producer." I'm like, "Yeah," right away. I'm like, "Yes, let's move." So yeah, so we moved pretty fast. It was yeah.
I love it.
I was sure about it.
Yeah, I guess New York would be a really good place for a actor and writer.
Yeah, I mean, that was my dream. So I'm like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah. Love it. So what were your feelings or inclination that you were in labor on that day?
So, I mean, the thing is, I didn't know, I think I was not prepared at all. Because I thought I would have 3 weeks to prepare myself. I was not. And I don't know, I think I was pretty naive. I thought that they will tell you at the hospital how to, how to do it, which wasn't really the case, of course, as we all know. Um, and so I mean, I knew the basic, like when to go to the hospital and everything, but I didn't have a doula. I didn't have anything like, so also my mom had, so we're 4 sisters. So she had 4 kids, and her labor is, I will not say really fast, but it's painless. So when she's ready to give birth, like she's ready. So she had really fast delivery, like really fast.
Can I be her?
Like half an hour, 15 minutes, like almost popping out in the car. So I was scared it will happen to me. So I think we went to the hospital way too early, but they said that I lost some liquids, but my water didn't break, whatever. But they kept me there, and I was dilated 0 when I got there.
Oh.
So, but again, I didn't know how long, and they left me there. Like 4 hours later, they come back, and it was really painful by that time. And I was dilated 1. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna be so long. And it took like 12 hours for me to have the epidural, because I don't know what happened. Like they couldn't, I mean, it was a busy night at the hospital. Like I was begging for it. Like it was so painful at some point, for sure. It took like 36 hours. And I remember like at the end, I couldn't feel anything also. Like for like 12 hours, it was so painful that when I got the epidural, they told me like, you can push the button if you want a little more. I pushed like all the way, I couldn't feel anything. So my husband had to take one of my leg up, and the nurse the other leg. And I mean, I was ready to push, but I don't know. At some point, they couldn't get it. Like I get scared because the intern all of a sudden was, okay, we might have to do a C-section. And I really remember being like, there's no way after 36 hours and pushing, you get this baby out of me right now. But I am not doing a C-section. And then the doctor came in, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And so he used the vacuum, and he got out, and yeah, that was it. Like I think I mean, definitely got stitches, definitely open, but I couldn't feel anything. So, I wasn't too worried at the moment. But it was rough. Like it was different, like so intense. I remember I had really this feeling that a truck run into me. Like I mean, this feeling.
Yeah.
After it was a lot.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of like reach this adrenaline, like when you have the baby and then you just absolutely plummet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the few hours after that, I was like, wow, it's so violent. It's it's just crazy pain. But yeah, I mean, my son was good. He was all right. I mean, he had a big head though, so that's that's where it was not easy. And he was 3 weeks earlier, but he was a pretty big baby. So I mean, it looks like he looked like a pretty normal, healthy, very healthy baby. So yeah.
What was postpartum like? How was that overall?
I mean, it was hard. And like the first one, I had no idea how I will feel. And I think like I tell that to new moms, or future moms. You don't know how you will react. Like I didn't think I will be so um so close to my baby, like meaning like I could not leave him at all. Like even like the first time he was in another room than me, I cried. Like I could just not leave this baby. I was so scared. Uh, like at night, the night was horrible. I always have, I think, the baby blues at night because I feel like, oh my God, no, if something happens, I don't know, the night is scary. I feel like it's scary.
Yeah.
And I mean, my parents came, but they came like 3 weeks after. And it's not the same country. Like it was, it was hard to, so much, hormones and emotions, and also physically, I couldn't walk until like even just doing like a block was painful, like for weeks, plus, being a new mom and being so attached to this baby. I'd like for the second one, I felt like I did a bunch of stuff differently for sure. But the first one, I didn't, I could not let him fall asleep by himself. Like I needed to carry him the entire time. I couldn't, like for me, like I couldn't not put him in his bed awake. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But I felt like, oh my God, he's going to be bored or sad or whatever.
Oh.
So definitely different with the second one.
Yeah.
But the first one is just, you don't know what kind of mom you're going to be. And I surprised myself, I think, because I didn't think I would be so into him like that.
Yeah. And even like being a mom from the first one to the second kid, like I am such a different mom.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely different moms. And I feel like we learn from, the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
And more confident also, because everything is so new. And I think I'm definitely not the only one, but you're scared he's not breathing at night, or like I was checking his breathing like all the time. I still do, to be honest. Like every time I go back to the room and I just like hear, okay, the breathing is fine. But I'm always scared something's going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because my husband, his fear is something is going to happen to him and we'll be alone.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But no, I'm scared that something happens to them, not to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel that. Like my husband always wants to like be like his best self for us. And I think he has like those kind of similar fears. Like, of course, like, yes, he's worried something's going to happen to them. But I think his first fear is like something's going to happen to him that would leave us in a bad place or something.
Yeah. It's a different kind of, mindset.
It's like the mentality, like we're just different species almost.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So how did your first prepare you to your second? Like how was that different?
Well, so I felt like for the second one, so first of all, I think, pregnancy, there's like some funny aspect to it. Like definitely it sucks. You gain a lot of weight. There's a lot of, but I had a pretty okay pregnancy besides getting a lot of weight and having like, I had such a bad blood circulation. So my legs were so swollen. My feet were so swollen, especially working. As a waitress was like, didn't help that for sure. But the second one, I had this idea that I wanted to film the pregnancy. Film like a little bit of videos. And so I called the director I work with, and she's a woman and I love her. And I told her like, hey, I'm going to try to get pregnant, So be ready. I don't know when it's going to happen, because for the first time it took like a year. And the second time it was so much faster. So I was like, okay, be ready. I have this idea. I want to shoot a little bit before the pregnancy. So how to get prepared, because that's something I also was so shocked also, like trying to have a baby. And I mean, it went pretty well. So I'm not complaining at all, but it was so emotional, like so much hormones too. Like I stopped my birth. I was on birth control pills and I stopped it to get pregnant, of course. And I felt like my hormones were crazy for the first time. Like I was hysterical, like such a stereotype of, when you have your period, like really stereotyped. And I don't know, it was just so much emotions. So I was a little scared for that for the second one, to be honest. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to stop it. I hope I'm not going to just get crazy. And it didn't do that. I think I went also, I wasn't that stressed. I'm like, I know I can get pregnant. It's going to take as much time as you want, whatever. As I feel like for the first one, you never know if you never tried. Am I going to be okay? Are we going to need help or whatever? So there's so much pressure, I think, for the first one that we don't have for the second one. So it took like just 4 months. So it was really pretty fast and it went very well. So we had to shoot pretty early. It's like, okay, let's do it. And I felt like it was cool to actually film it, because I was really aware of like all the symptoms, and also like all the videos are like in a funny way. I'm it's not like very serious, but I try to talk about every aspect of it, and even the one that we don't want to talk about, like having gas during pregnancy, or because it's so true. It's so much gas, and I think it's funny. It's funny to or like vaginal discharge, or all those funny and glamorous aspects of it.
The absolutely glamorous. I think of the gas, like from Miranda from Sex and the City, where she's like in a shoe store and she farts, and Carrie was like, "Was that you?" And she's like, "I'm a walking whoopee cushion."
But I mean, we never talk about it because it's not glamorous, but it happens. I mean, every pregnant woman that I know, like I asked and they were like, "Yes, I'm so Cassie." I'm like, okay. So this is a real thing, So yeah, it was just fun, recording all those moments and having fun with it. But I feel like I was working from home for the second one, so it went pretty well. I gained a lot of weight also, though I was not eating raclette cheese, but I guess that's how, my pregnancy goes. But yeah, no, but this time I really wanted to make sure I had support after, because I knew it was like very difficult. The postpartum was difficult. So this time I made sure I had a therapist in place. I had a coach also, not right after, but a few months after. And I really wanted to make sure also I would rest for an entire month and try to stay as much lay down as possible. I read like a French book about that, and there was like a bunch of countries also, like China, where they really say like you have to lay down for an entire month. So I was way more prepared. I feel like I read a bunch of books. I mean, I already had a baby, so I knew how it was. I got to do that this time because my insurance, I was able to get it for free. So I was like, what? Why not? That would be dumb to not do it.
Yeah.
And it was great. I didn't really have a choice of who it was, but I was not really picky. And I mean, she was a real New Yorker. Like, she had like she knew what she was doing, so it was fun. But I told her, like, okay, I want this birth to be completely different. I want to be able to move as much as possible. I don't want it to be 36 hours. I don't know, like, be more in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because I felt like the first one, they didn't tell me what to do. They really, I mean, especially the first few, like almost like, I think 8 hours, I was in the triage room, and she was just lay down, just don't move. And I was so much in pain, and I think laying down was the worst position, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I really prepared myself. I did like a bunch of like yoga classes that I found on YouTube that were great, about like just, you know, how to act, and how to, like, what position to do when you get into labor, to help the baby move as fast as possible. So I was pretty prepared, I will say, for the second one, and it was cool. It went very uh, much faster.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the doula, she didn't come to my house. She just told me, okay, when you get into labor, just text me. We'll see where you're at, and then we'll meet at the hospital. So I changed hospital also in between, and this one was like way more moms friendly, I will say. I mean, hopefully they're all moms friendly. They should all be, but you know, more natural, I will say. They really let you do whatever you have to do. They don't push you, and it was like pretty much all the crew was just women, which I really appreciated. And it was really quiet. I don't know, they let me do whatever I wanted. And I told them, like, I want to be able to be on all fours. That was the position I preferred. But the thing is, like, I told my doula, I want the epidural. Like, I don't want to not have it. And she was like, okay, we'll see. Don't worry. I mean, if you want to be able to move, you might not want it. I'm like, no, I want it. She's like, okay, well, don't worry. We'll see, you know. I'm like, okay. And I got there. And so when I got to the airport for the second time, I was 4 centimeter dilated, 4. So I was like, yes,
Yeah.
you know.
Much better.
Oh my God. Much better. I worked so well, you know, at home. I did all my movement. I had my yoga ball, you know, I did everything she, because my doula, she told me to put like some warm, white, towels, you know, on my vagina to just like make sure, you know, it was, I was prepping my vagina pretty much. And it worked well. And she was really into, I promise you, you're not going to tear. I'm like, okay, it's great if I don't. It's not my objective, you know, whatever. But, and she was like, no, don't worry. I was more scared about like him having a big head, because my husband has a big head. The first one has a big head. And they told me like he was a pretty big baby. I'm like, okay. So I was more scared about that. But she was like, no, don't worry. Don't worry about that. I'm like, okay. I have like a secret lotion for you. I'm like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever. That's fine. And so we get to the hospital. I meet her, and then it's already like super, super, super painful. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I want the epidural. Like, I cannot do it without it. And it's something happens a little weird. They just like kind of tell me, okay, we're gonna take your whatever they have to do to do the epidural. And then no one talked about it anymore. And I think the doula said, let's just wait a little bit to see how fast she's going, because I really wanted to be fast. And then like an hour or two later, they check and they're like, oh, you're 6 centimeters. I'm like, okay. And an hour later, they're like, oh, you're 8. And by that time, I'm like, okay, I didn't have the epidural. I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's just do it. I mean, we're like 8 centimeters. And so I happened to not have the epidural for this one. Be like really on all fours pretty much the entire time. And they really then, like at 9, when I was at 9 centimeters or 9.5, they were like, just push whenever you want to push, when you feel like it. I'm like, okay. And I started pushing, but the pushing, so it was so different from the first one, because the first one I had the epidural, so I couldn't feel anything. So the pushing part was not painful at all. This one, I felt it. And the pushing part, like, I felt like it was so long, like at least 2 hours, or, I mean, when I was starting pushing, at some point, like they just put me on the side, but it was super painful. I mean, at the end, like, yeah, they put me on like a more traditional way, because to help really take him out. But I felt like I was able to really be on the position I wanted until almost the end. And yeah, I mean, we pushed, and yeah, if you don't have an epidural, like I had no idea what it would feel like, and it burns.
The ring of fire.
I feel like it really burns. Yeah, it was a lot. And at the end, I mean, when he got out, I was just so happy he was out. I was like, oh, thank you for like make it stop, So yeah, it was really painful. We kind of forget about it, and that's how nature is, for a reason. But yeah, it was really painful.
Yeah,
but I didn't tear at all. And she put this lotion, I don't even know when, because I have no memory of it. But she said she did, and at the end they checked and were like, nope, you're all good. And I have to say that makes such a big difference for the recovery. Like, such a big difference. Yeah. I tried to lay down as much as possible for like the next few weeks, but still, like, I wasn't as handicapped as I was for the first one, for sure. So yeah, there was like completely 2 different births, I think.
Yeah.
Which is great, because I feel like I experienced,
I need to talk to this doula about all of her tricks up her sleeve.
Yeah. I mean, the towel thing, I think that was great. She's like, yeah, you need to prepare your vagina, we need to dilate it. I'm like, okay, yeah, makes sense,
It does. It's a good idea.
It's great. And she really insisted on the white towel. She said, it needs to be white. I'm like, okay, whatever you say. Maybe it's like a spiritual thing. Maybe. Because I was like, yeah, it's fine. I ordered a bunch of small white towels to do that. But the lotion, I'm not sure what it is. That's her secret lotion.
I wonder if she sells it.
I know. Maybe.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, like oil stuff. But yeah, it's but yeah, no, it was my husband was kind of impressed. It was, I never seen someone suffer that much. I was like, okay.
But like, you had like such a redemptive birth. You obviously, went all the way without an epidural. You didn't tear. You didn't have to have a vacuum.
Like, yeah, no. And he was like he didn't even cry. He was like pretty happy and chill when he got out. But it took like 7 hours at the hospital though. So it was like 7 very painful hours. I have to say, like very, very painful. But I mean, we did it. I did it, you know. And at the end, I laugh because they're like, so on a scale of one between 1 and 10, how do you feel? I'm like, well, I mean, compared to right before, I feel like much better, but now I want the pills. Like, give me like everything you have, you know.
That's so funny.
So yeah.
How was postpartum and recovery with that one? I mean, obviously the recovery was better.
Yeah, the recovery was better, and I feel like it went easier, I think, because yeah, I was in therapy right after, and I felt like for the second one, I mean, you know what to do with a baby, so the first phase is hard because of the sleep deprivation for sure, but. My mom came kind of right away for like a week, and then my mother-in-law came right after. So I really want them not to be together so I could have as much time as possible.
Good idea.
Yeah. And they mostly took care of my first kid, you know. It's like I need someone to, and my husband was there also the first week or the first 2 weeks. But yeah, I needed someone to take care of him and pick him up at school and etc. So that was kind of like people were taking care of my first one, and I could just like chill and enjoy with the second one. Though, I mean, chill is a big word, but you know, and I made 2 boys, and the 2 are like not good sleepers at all. So nights were pretty tough, and I still had this baby blues about night, like, you know, like the first month where like the night was coming and I will cry because like and I feel it's really this feeling where I'm gonna be by myself all night with this baby because my husband doesn't hear him, you know. Of course, they don't hear them that much, you know. And I was breastfeeding also, so I would stay up a lot. But then for the second one, I told my husband, okay, I want to make sure, you know, I rest as much as possible. So you're going to sleep on the couch for like a month. I'm sorry, but I want the entire bed for me. And I had a bunch of like pillows everywhere. And I think also the breastfeeding went so much faster and easier for the second one because I knew how to do it. And so I was able to breastfeed like laying down, like just on the side, which I was not able to do that for the first one right away. It took like a while to do that. So I felt like I had, you know, tricks, and I knew how to handle breastfeeding so much better. Yeah, all the little things like that. I will not be afraid to let him, you know, sleep by himself a little bit. Not like the first one. He could cry a little bit. That was not the end of the world. So yeah, I think it went better. And I also, so I had a therapist, a coach. I still have all those. Because I feel like he's just 16 months. I'm still like in the postpartum, you know.
Yeah.
And I had also like a coaching program to lose weight. And I love that because it's a woman who's specialized also in like for moms, so pregnant or postpartum, and it's great. It's on an app, and I could do like the short workouts every day, and they send you like 4 options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and every 2 weeks it changes, and so it helped me lose some weight. And it helped me just like, you know, I didn't have to think about like what I needed to eat.
Yeah.
because you can tell, I mean, she specialized in that. So I told her like I was breastfeeding. So it was like the good amount of calorie, nutritious, meals for that.
What's the app called?
I mean, the app, it's just an app that she uses like Linus, but I can let you know her name. I need to find out because she's pretty great, and I think it's pretty affordable. It's Katy Bread. I'm not sure I pronounce her name right, but she's on Instagram. Method by Katy Bread.
Okay, send me her profile.
I will send you
a look at it.
And she's really good. She's great, and that helped me a lot. So yeah, I think I had a bunch of stuff in place for the second one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That helped.
Were you also still like documenting all of this in your videos?
So I did the first month. So I took a break for like a good month. And then because I was experiencing that, I told my director, yeah, we need to film like some more episodes. So let's film fast before it's too big, because and before, also like I'm a mess. Let's show that right now. Like the postpartum, right? The good postpartum. So I think we filmed like almost 20 episodes actually after the birth. And it's like 30 seconds episode, but we filmed a couple of times after that. And so we have like the real, postpartum, like the first postpartum poop, like again, that you don't think about it too much until you experience it. And then it's like, oh my God, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it terrified me personally. So
same. How far into your pregnancy did you film, like document everything?
Yeah. So we stopped like the last episode. So the last episode is like me going into labor. I mean, it was fake, of course. But I think it was like a week before I actually gave birth. So we went until like pretty much the end. And I was like saying like, let's do this. And we have a deadline, like any time after that I can be delivering. So that's a good exercise though, because you have to do it. You don't have choice. But yeah.
So how many episodes did you film before for pregnancy?
So before the pregnancy, I think it's like, I don't know, like 12 episodes, something like that.
Okay.
But though I think so every time we film like an entire day, we filmed for an entire day, and it was like 7 episodes total. Every time like it was like 7 episodes per day. And so we filmed the first round, and then for the second round, I was not supposed to be pregnant yet, but I was. So same, I was like, okay, it's just the beginning, but let's hurry up.
Yeah.
Because before it shows. And after like we did like kind of like once a month or once every 2 months, so we can really see the progression of the pregnancy until like the end. And
I love that. It was like so perfectly thought out with like each kind of stepping stone.
Yeah, and because I was living it, it was great to. I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot about that, or forgot about it. So it was great because I had the first pregnancy I knew what it was about, and then the reminder of the actual pregnancy, and then my director had a baby also, in between, so she she also had her own experience, so it was kind of a mix of all of that. But I tried for all the episodes to have pretty much everything I experienced, except maybe one or two, but it was really my experience of it.
Yeah. So where can people find you on Instagram?
Yeah, on Instagram, just Marine.Assayante, Assaiante.
Awesome. And we can link those in our show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I put it on all social media, but I feel like Instagram is the best.
Yeah.
Definitely the best.
And then I was looking on your show. Is it only on YouTube?
So it's on YouTube, on like the mom to be. Yeah, no, it's on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much everything. But so it's a voiceover. So I did like the voiceover in English, and we did it also in French.
Okay.
So we have two versions.
I love it.
But Instagram is only the English version.
Okay.
Not to confuse everyone, because of like, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I liked your pump part episode. You were like
the what?
Like
which one?
The pumping parts.
Oh yeah.
And you're like on the couch and you're like,
I know.
That one was funny.
Very relatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried, I tried to be, relatable, and to put humor in it, because it's and to be a little, not educational, a little bit, but it's more like what I wanted to know. I feel being pregnant, okay, that's all the aspects of pregnancy you didn't think about, but it's still cool. But
yeah, put a little
be ready
in it. I guess you can eventually like kind of look back and be like, huh, that was funny. It sucked in the moment, but now it's funny.
It sucked, but I always thought a pregnant woman was funny, to be honest. If you have a pretty good pregnancy, of course. But it's especially at the end, where like you cannot wait to be not pregnant anymore, and you want the baby out.
Yeah.
And those are always like tricks, I don't know if it's true or not, but like I think it was my doula who told me, like, eat some pineapple. It makes the baby come faster, or at least get into labor. Like spicy food, stuff like that. I'm not sure how much is true and how much is just in your head. But I tried. I ate some pineapple at the end, because the second one didn't come early. He came pretty on time.
Yeah.
So not late, but on time. I think just like being prepared, I think it's a good idea. When you're expecting. And I wasn't prepared for my first one. I guess I was way more prepared for the second one. It went better. Also, it's the second one, so we know what to expect. But I think just being prepared, because the hospital is not going to help you that much. And you have to do your homework, pretty much.
Yeah, it's true. I think a lot of people don't know that, like, the nurse doesn't stay in the room with you, like you're pretty much by yourself a lot of the time.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
And I thought, the first time I thought, oh, they're gonna have the yoga ball and everything. No, they don't. I mean, at least where the hospital I went to, like they didn't have a yoga ball. And I mean, the nurse helped me with the breathing a little bit, but still, they were not here with us the entire time, and I feel like we didn't know what to do, and especially the position. Like the first one was just like, lay down. I'm like, that's kind of the worst thing you can do. Just lay down on your back.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something I didn't want to repeat.
Yeah.
For the second one. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome.
But if we have a third one, maybe I'll take the epidural and do like a very smooth delivery.
Yeah.
Change a little bit, you know?
I know, like get to a certain point and then take the epidural. That's what I do.
Exactly. Like, I know how to do both, so now let's do like a in between.
Yeah. Perfect.
So suffer so much.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories of your 2 boys and how they got here. And you're just hilarious, relatable, put some humor in it, videos that you share. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night, and we'll see you next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion and found it insightful and beneficial. Remember, the Golden Hour Birth Podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you. If you appreciate the content we bring you each week, consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform or sharing the show with your friends and family. Your support helps us reach more people and continue creating valuable episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us on our website, www.goldenhourbirthpodcast, or connect with us on social media. We value your feedback and want to make sure that we're delivering the content you want to hear. Before we sign off, we'd like to express our gratitude to our incredible guests who joined us today. We are honored that they trust us enough to be so open and vulnerable. We're grateful for their time and willingness to share their stories with us. If you're interested in taking the conversation further with us, join us on our Facebook group, The Golden Hour Birth Circle. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode, so be sure to tune in. Until then, stay golden and remember to take care of yourself. We'll catch you on the next episode of the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. Bye!